Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Hojan podcast. This is your host Ash. I didn't really know Kasia personally. Christine was the one who introduced her to me. And as we started talking about her journey, and by the time we were done, I was really in awe of her. She is a true fighter. Learning about her cancer and how that led to an eating disorder that was so bad that sometimes she went to bed and thought she might not ever wake up. And that really made me choke up. And now, as her body is fully healed, she has grown from the girl who was told she could never run because of asthma. She is out there proving everyone wrong. She's running marathons, ultra marathons, she's training for the high rocks, and she is tipping her toe for the Ironman. And like she said in her own words, she is not putting a limit on herself. Kasia's journey is an inspiration for us all. Sometimes we take this life for granted, and she is reminding us all to take that step that scares us and jump on them. And in that note, please let me introduce to our guest today. Here's Kasia. Hey, Kasia, welcome to the show. And I'm so glad we chatted a little bit before the recording started, and it was a nice conversation. And thank you for your time. When it's the
Oh,
morning
thank you so
from
much. Yes,
Toronto.
thank you so much.
Now, I've been following a little bit, and I know a little bit about you and your survival struggles, whatever you have went through in your life. Can you please a quick introduction about who is Kasia?
Sure. I am a wife, a mom, a dog mom. I am new to endurance sports, about 2 years in. I've gone through different evolutions, especially in the past 10 years of my life, that things have started to develop. So, went through time with cancer, and which led to time with an eating disorder, specifically with anorexia, and have been business owners, and I am now embracing the time of my life where I am trying to see where my physical limits, or capacity, I should say, because I don't think there's limits, what my physical capacity is.
Yes, that is interesting to see because we were talking about it earlier, and you said you haven't started running not a long ago. So, where did you pick up running, and how did this came to your life?
Yeah, I had always talked about it. I always thought it was incredibly neat that people had ran marathons or were running on the streets, and I always wanted to try and run. Growing up with severe asthma, I was always told you can't run. It's bad for your asthma. And 2 years ago, my eldest daughter Kayla, she gave me a running belt for my birthday, and she said, "Here you go. You always talk about running. You have the belt now. You can go. It's time you started." And I said, "No, no, no. I can't do it. I can't do it." And we went out for a walk one day, and then she said to me, "Run around the school." So I ran around a school and literally thought I was going to die. And she said, "Great, mom, do it again." So I literally thought I was going to die again. And I had this bug in me, and I thought, I've never ran around a school. And it was an elementary school, a smaller school. The next day I went out and I thought, can I run to the stop sign? And I barely made it to the stop sign. And so I said, great. Next day I went out again and tried to get a little further. Went from stop sign to stop sign, traffic light to traffic light. I would count my steps. Let's see if I can keep running for 60 steps. It took me about 2 weeks of doing that every day, and I hated it, but I loved how I felt after. But I hated it in the process. 2 weeks later, I was doing a kilometer, and then about 6 weeks after I'd started, I was able to run 21 kilometers. And so I thought, okay, I can do this endurance. I wasn't running for time. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. I was just running for pure pleasure. That's really what gave me the kick I needed to get started.
How did it felt from the moment you started? You grew up with this mindset, or everybody kept telling you you can't do it, you cannot do this thing and run, but then you showed everybody that's wrong. I can do it, and you were able to do it. So how that felt after you were able to run 25 kilometers? It's because that's a half marathon, and it's like an incredible achievement. So how did that felt when you were able to do this thing?
Well, actually, my mindset in life has always been, don't tell me I can't do something. And for some reason, that was something that I actually started to believe people when it came to asthma. So when I finally was able to do it, I thought, well, finally you woke up and became yourself again, because I've never really let other people's opinions stop what I think, what I want to do, what I want to pursue, except with this. For some reason, I had this block, and I had this really just mental block that was keeping me from doing it. So I felt much more like myself.
What is your mindset today? As when you're growing up, all these like things popping in your head saying you can do it, you can do it, and now you
Mhm.
are doing high rocks, you are running marathons, you are training for triathlon, so you are doing these amazing, incredible things. So how do you feel or see yourself now compared to when you were just starting around the block of that preschool?
I feel more like the me I'm supposed to be. So I really believe that there are the only limitations that we put on ourselves, or that we have, are the ones we put on ourselves. And that was a limitation that I allowed myself to have. And that's not a way to live life. So it's about conquering each day, about doing anything that makes you happy, that invigorates your soul. So now I feel much more like me.
I'm so glad that you said that because, and I'm happy that it can see that you are pushing every day and pushing your boundary, your limit, your horizon, like the podcast. So you are pushing everything about you, and that is wonderful. I think we all should strive to that and try to do better than yesterday, right? And just go
Yeah.
further and see how far you can go. As we were talking about you, right? So you said that you were a cancer survivor, you dealt with the ED, but now you are an endurance athlete. So how do you see yourself today from all of your past experiences?
Well, I think everything happens for a reason, and everything that happens is an opportunity to learn and to grow and develop, if you so choose, if you allow it into yourself to become a learning step. So, how do I see myself now? I see myself as really, I have no limits. There's nothing that we can't do. There's nothing that's holding me back now without my permission. So I see myself as really just on the brink of discovering more of who I am. I think I'm just barely touching the surface, and that's
And do
exciting.
you, yeah, that is exciting. And do you have any limit on you? Like how far do you want to push yourself? Or you just all in and you're gonna sow and go deep dive and see how far you can go?
I don't believe in limits, because
Okay.
as soon as you put a limit, then you've sort of capped what you think is possible. And the whole point for me in life and living is discovering what is possible. And sometimes it is the seemingly impossible things that become what's possible. So I don't have a cap. I don't have, if I reach this goal, then something will happen. When I first chatted with my now coach, Ryan from Wabi Sabi Athletics, he asked me if in a year from now, if I had accomplished three things I had outlined to him, how would I feel? And I gave him my honest answer, which was, I would say, that's it. Then what? Because as soon as I do something, that's great, but I want to keep going. So that's why I say no limits.
Is that the reason you are looking for the Ironman challenges? Because that is pinnacle of one of like endurance sports because it's swim, it's 112 miles of biking, and then there is a marathon. So is that the reason you are pursuing this challenge for yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had always followed it just as a spectator. I'd always followed it, always been interested in the way that you're challenging yourself in those three different disciplines. But I couldn't run before now. And my swimming, I had done as a child. So I was really just being able to bike. And then what I realized is, okay, so I can bike, and now after 2 years, I can say that I can run. So if I just feel comfortable now with two out of the three disciplines, what's holding me back? So last year in the summer of 2024, I went back to basics, and I went back to adult, like relearn how to swim. And it was humbling because you're taking swimming lessons, and in the pool there are children taking swimming lessons, and even though you're an adult, you're learning again reminding yourself how to float, how to do all of these things. And there was no reason why I shouldn't do that because I thought it was the whole concept of an Ironman was so intriguing. So now at this point, okay, so I've gone back. Swimming is by far something I need to work on the most. But why not? If it was always interesting to me and I was always attracted to it, and I have shown myself that I can go from being from not running at all to now, running a decent amount, then why wouldn't I tackle the third one and overcome what I thought was the pinnacle of physical prowess?
That is beautiful. And as you said earlier, you have fought whole your life, right? Because you had cancer, air, and all these things, and now you are fighting for these longer distances, and then these incredible new heights that you never reached before, right? So, how does it feel?
Well, I think we're all fighting something. Everyone has a story. Everyone has something that they are trying to, maybe a chapter they're trying to rewrite or a way they're trying to find themselves. So how does it feel? It feels like it's the path I'm supposed to be on. It feels comfortable and challenging at the same time. It feels rewarding. There are days where it feels like feels like crap, and there's days
Yeah,
that it is exhilarating, and that's those are the ebbs and flows, and you choose to ride the wave or you just sit back and wait. So those are the options. You either sit and let and watch other people live their lives, or you choose to grab life by the horns, and whatever that means for you, and you go after it. So that's how it feels to me now.
that is nice. You said grab the horns by itself and then make your choice, right? So, what I want to do and
Exactly.
do it. And
Exactly.
well, while you were, can you give us a background on the cancer part that you had, like how it happened and how long did it take for you to recover? A little bit of background so we can I can ask a question around that.
Yeah, of course. So the cancer and the eating disorder, the one in the adulthood, are sort of co-combined. So as a youngster, I was involved in dance and ballet, and I taught ballet for most of my life. That was what was my profession until COVID. And so I had been in that world of sort of where everyone's trying to shrink themselves, and
Yeah.
been involved in that eating disorder side. This was not the same case that it started. So in 2015, what happened? So 10 years now is I stopped being able to digest food. I would try and eat something and I would get very sick, and this would just happen constantly, and there was no real indication as to why. It took a year and a half of all of the tests that you can imagine to have to do with anything in the GI tract and beyond. And I think what they were looking for at that time is was there a cancer in the stomach, which there was not, but they still didn't understand what was happening. I had a great doctor who would order every single test for me, which is why this took a year and a half. Eventually, she was going to recommend me to a specialist. The specialist asked for another CT scan and MRI that was just in a different area than I had usually had. So, by chance, when they did that, they noticed the tumors. And so this had nothing to do with this specialist whatsoever. So I had went to an endocrinologist and then and eventually an oncologist. I had the biopsies done, and one was benign and one was malignant. So I went through the process. I was very, very fortunate in that my options included a surgery that would probably remove most of it. I didn't have to go through chemotherapy or radiation at that time. So that was a huge relief, I think. So I was able to have that removed. I still have the residual. I still have tumors throughout that are right now dormant that we're monitoring. But what happened is during that recovery, I again had lost my ability to digest and tolerate food, going through and actually had letting my body heal and recover. And so I went to liquids as a form of nutrition. That sort of spiraled because the more I would intake, the worse I would feel.
Mm.
And so then it became okay, well, then if you don't need those calories, don't have them. That was the recommendation that was first given. So that stuck in my head. So the days would go on, I would have less and less. less and less calories. At first, I was okay, meaning I could still function, and everything was. It was starving some of the tumors at the same time. So everything I could still do some movements. I was still okay. I was still teaching ballet, and then it got progressively worse. So it got progressively worse, and then when it hit the lowest part, again, that was probably the scariest time. My weight dropped to 84 pounds, and I am about 5'2", almost 5'3".
Yeah.
I had lost all muscle strength, so my husband Richard would have to carry me up the stairs because I couldn't walk up the stairs. I couldn't lift my thigh to do that. I couldn't lift my arms to like over my head. So now when I do a shoulder press or I lift dumbbells, it's so validating because I couldn't do that movement, never mind having weight. I couldn't close a window, that action I couldn't pull down. It was just, and then I had no appetite whatsoever. There were days where the intake was, it could have been close to 100 calories. And it was basically just, I was basically just lying there, not much that we could do. At the same time, it was not me trying to shrink myself. It was the side effects of trying to figure out how my body was going to be digesting and recovering and adapting to the cancer that had sort of made me lose some of these abilities. So
Hmm.
understanding that was difficult because it was difficult to think, okay, well, I need to somehow get calories in to be healthy, but then I'm going to feel sick and I would, be sick and then not have the calories in my body anymore. So it was sort of a very much double-edged sword. I have a slight pericardial effusion as well. So the heart murmurs would start, and it just, we didn't really know what to do. I went in the hospital on COVID, not for anything eating disorder or cancer related, but just like kidney stones. And I remember the doctor said to me, she was very, very rude and very blunt. She said, well, you're probably just anorexic, there's nothing wrong with you. But meanwhile, I was there for something completely different, and I thought, this is, you're missing the struggle that someone's going through. That was a really long process. I would say that whole thing started in 2015. I had my cancer diagnosis in 2016. I had my surgery in 2017 and started the recovery process. By 2019, the weight was dropping down. In 2022, so this is a long time now, that's when I hit 84 pounds. And um, like I said, it wasn't about me shrinking myself. It just, coming out of it was almost like my body went to the bottom of the barrel and decided, okay, we're going to slowly build back up again, because it wasn't a conscious decision. I remember all of the low points, and the lowest point of anything would be, lying in bed and the heart, the palpitations are starting, and you're trying to catch your breath, and my husband would just be holding my hand, and there were, a couple of nights where, you say good night, and you don't know if you're going to wake up. You don't know
Yeah.
if you're going to see each other in that morning. So, yeah, it was hard. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is tough. That is tough. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. It's it's eating disorder is so bad, and we should feel lucky that we can eat food, because if it's hard, one of the hardest thing to diagnose with, and then go through all of that because you literally cannot eat, like you said, and it's so tough. And when you, like you said before, right, you went to through so many specialists, and finally when they were able to figure out what was happening with the tumor, how did that felt at that moment for you? It was it like,
Um,
were you relief sort of, or were you just
yeah,
more scared?
you know what? I was personally relieved because there was at least an avenue to go down to what I thought was going to help me feel better. But I think the part when you asked if I was scared, that was just sort of to tell people, to share that information. It was much harder for me to tell my family than for me to hear it. I think, because when someone tells you something, you absorb it for yourself. But when you have to tell somebody else and share that and see that look on their face, that is far more devastating, I think.
As you have gone through your life, right? So with the cancer and then these tough 4 years that you went through with eating disorder where you literally could not move, you may have gone through so many like pain and like you have to endure a lot of that because it's hard, when not just not just physically, with mentally, emotionally too, because you can't do anything because it's the disorder and there's nothing really you can do. It's just that hope that you can feel better the next day. Do you take this when you are doing all these things that you can do right now and go back and always tell yourself that I used to be that and now I can do these things?
I love doing that. I love going back and reflecting on it because you never really know how far you've come or how much you've overcome in life if you don't reflect on one where you were or what you went through. So like that's what I was saying about my arms overhead. So now, I mean, doing high rocks with Christine and we're doing wall balls and we're doing all these workouts and she's inspiring me every day. We're doing a shoulder presses and these are things that, like I said, the arms over the head without any weights was impossible. So to do it now and then sometimes I find myself beating myself up thinking, "Oh, you should have had a heavier weight. You should have done more pull-ups. You should have done more of this." And then to look back and go, "Wait a second. You could not do any of this. This was not even in the cards not that long ago." So it's a forced time to stop and I think give yourself a pat on the back and say, "You know what? You're doing great. Keep going because the body, I'm very thankful my body is obviously very resilient after it really just pulled itself back up. So it's so validating, it's so invigorating now to do all of these things. It just feels so good to be able to challenge my body and have my body respond in a favorable manner.
So in that thought, right? So
Mhm.
when you are going through a low, right? So when you run a marathon, it's obviously hard. We have to go to different phases. The Because everything hurts, right? It's not a easy distance to run, and when you are going through a low, when you are running these endurance events that you are doing, do you always reflect back to the old self and then push through? Use that as the energy, or use that as the power or your superpower to move forward and push yourself and say that went all through that. This is nothing. Is that how you
You know
approach?
what? No, actually, I don't. I don't actually think about it until it might be a few days after the marathon or a few days before. In the process of it, I don't think about what I've overcome. What I think about, I'll tell you, is I have this fabulous dog named Poe, and he's a mini golden doodle, and he had an accident a couple of years ago, and we had to say goodbye to one of his front limbs. So he is a tripod now. And what I think about is after 10 days after his surgery, so after his amputation, he got the all clear to be able to be off leash. And we took him off leash in the backyard, and the first thing he did was run. He just ran. So he had no inhibition. So what I think of when I'm in a low point in the marathon, I really think, this guy, you know, he could lose a limb and 10 days later choose to run, but I'm going to complain that I'm hungry or I'm sweaty or I'm tired or this hurts. I'm fortunate to be fully limbed. I'm going to keep going. So that's actually what I think of. I don't think of my own headspace.
That's it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think of him.
I didn't have thought of that answer.
Yeah.
You'd be thinking
That's
of
what I
the
think of
dog.
Poe. Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
That is nice. Oh God. And also, like we talk about going through all of these things, and there is this recovery too, right? Because you went through the ED, you had a cancer recovery. So how did your recovery from 19 to 2019, after you said you were at the bottom, where you were not feeling to eat anything, and then after that, how did it build up slowly? How
Yeah.
was the process?
So So that is actually one of the miracles, I think, of the resilience of the body. So it was the lowest weight was about, I think it was actually 2021. I think I said 2022 earlier, but that was my mistake. It was 2021 in August. That's when I hit the lowest point. And I don't actually, there wasn't a pivotal moment because it wasn't a conscious decision. It wasn't a pivotal moment for me to change anything. It was just sort of, I think something happened and my body said, okay, we're going to heal now. We're going to heal from cancer. We're going to heal from this eating disorder. And that was in August of 2021. And I didn't have the strength at that time, but somehow, and I wish I had a blueprint for how this happened that I could pass on to other people. But my body started slowly healing. It started being able to tolerate food. It started being able to move a little bit. And then February of 2022, so not that much longer, I was back in the gym, and I hadn't been in a gym. I hadn't actually been in a gym for about 20 years. I'd been doing dance. I'd been doing ballet, but I had not lifted any weights or anything. And I fell in love with it again. I fell in love with this challenge. So to see that change in how the body can heal itself. And again, I was very fortunate that my body just allowed it to heal itself and then find movement again. Um, that's how it started.
It's amazing. And whenever we talked about all these things that we are going through, nobody really talks about what happens after, like you said, after you had to do the surgery, there is the treatment, and then you went through possibly the worst ED that you ever went through. Episodes like where multiple years, that was a long time, like 2 years, 2, 3, 4 years, probably something like
Yeah.
that. So, what was the hardest part for you while going through and living, and but also surviving, because you were going through so much pain, and I cannot even imagine like how you went through that phase. It just like it just feels so tough.
Yeah, I think actually the hardest part is now when I reflect on seeing how much pain that caused my family. How because they felt hopeless or helpless, pardon me. They couldn't do anything to make it better. So yes, of course, I didn't feel good. I was in pain. I was not in a good state at all, but that's one thing. When you reflect and you can see the situation from the point of view of your family, of the people that were around you, of your support system, and see what an impact it had on them. To me, that's the by far the hardest part because you can deal with things that affect you, but you can't erase those moments and that impact and take it away from other people. You can't take that pain away that other people feel.
If you look back at the journey, right, it's so incredible because at one point you were not able to lift your hand, like you said, right? So, but here you are now. You are doing high rocks. That's mostly tough because you should be able to run, and then you should be able to hit all of those where it's like it's a lot of movements, upper body movements, and now you're training for the triathlon. It's just incredible. Like, so how do you even feel like from how you were and how you are now? I know we talked about this earlier on, but you are challenging yourself every day. But sometimes, do you feel that it's gonna get worse, or like it's always been progressively better and better on how you feel?
I think there's always days or moments and days when there are low points, and I think that acknowledging that is very validating and helps to get through different times. I would never want to mask anything and pretend like it's all roses, but when you get down to what the vision or what the intention is, and my intention is to live the most fabulous life I possibly can, and in order to allow that to happen, I have to learn from the low moments, appreciate the higher moments, and love everything in between. And if you can do that and constantly strive and put yourself or your goals forward, then the ebbs and flows just come and go. So I just take every moment and trying to appreciate and acknowledge it for what it does and how it impacts and the people that come into that community as well and learn from it.
What you're doing is absolutely insane, like you have run this you have run the Toronto, Chicago, and you did the 80-kilometer solo run, and you do this high rocks doubles with Christine, like we talked about earlier, and now you are pushing yourself to this challenge that where you are not comfortable with one of these events that you have to do in Ironman, and you're pushing yourself. What is driving you to do all of that?
I just the constant need for me, the constant thing is I love to see what's possible. And I've always loved to do that. I love to see what's possible. I don't like to put any caps or any limits on anything. I love to live every moment. I take a lot of that, I think, from my grandparents on my father's side. They were the most incredible role models in terms of grabbing life and enjoying life and living it. My grandmother was in her 70s and my grandfather was in their 80s, and they decided we have free time, let's take up ballroom dancing. So not only did they take it up, but they competed in the adult over 40 category and would win. And
Wow.
they were just doing everything they could to live, and that's how I grew up, very much with them as role models for that. And that's how I have been living my life, and just there's always so many things to do. So yep, Chicago, Toronto, High Rocks, that's going to be my October month this year. And now with the coaching from Ryan, we'll be moving forward to hopefully eventually getting the 70.3 Ironman, and then I know I will. Him and I will push each other to make that full distance Ironman a reality for myself. But that's what I want as well. I want, a coach that's going to be accountable, that I'm going to be accountable to, and that's going to recognize that these are things I want to do, and he's going to make sure that I follow through with the plans I have for myself.
Like earlier, you mentioned that some days it's low, right? Because,
Mhm.
like you said, some days it's high, and some days you have to go through all these lows. And what gets you out of the door when you are on those days where it's very low?
Remembering what my intention is, remembering what my vision is, remembering that everything that I'm doing is a choice, and I'm choosing to do all of these things. I don't have to. I don't have to run. I don't have to swim. I don't have to do high rocks. I don't have to do any of that, but I want to. So by choosing to do those and making those priorities, then I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my coach Ryan, and I owe it to my partner Christine to follow through with the actions and all the steps in order to meet those goals and meet, achieve, succeed.
We talked about your life, right, so much today, and how it has progressed from a girl who was told that you cannot run because of asthma, and you are going through and doing this incredible thing now. And all these things that you're doing right now, is it to celebrate your life of what has happened and how low you have been with the like being the cancer survivor and the ED disorder, or are you running to skip something still now?
Yeah, I would say neither. I'm not running because of what happened, and I'm not running to avoid anything right now. I'm actually just running and doing all of these things because I can. So when you spend so many years not being able to do things, and then once you can do something, and that could be anything in life, and you find that joy in it, you go with it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm enjoying every single moment. I'm even the ones that I don't like. Even the times that are lows, I'm still enjoying them because I have the opportunity and the fortune to have those lows, because that means I'm working towards something bigger.
I can totally relate to that because, like, before the recording started, we were talking about this running and how I got into the ultras, and that's what I feel right now is because it feels like I belong here, and this
Yeah,
is where I can push myself, and I can just reflect what you just said, and I can just see like, okay, yeah, I can understand it because that's what I want to do too, and see how far I can go, how much I can push. It's not about what 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 can I not do, It's about, and
exactly.
I want to find out, and I want to find out that where is my limit. If there is a limit, then how far can I go until my body breaks down? So that is why I'm running too. And like I said, I've asked this question to a lot of people, right? So in since we're in the same topic right now, why do you run?
I think that, well, that has changed so many times. Why I run, it started off because I can, because I could, because I chose to take that first step, because I chose to try and do it. Why do I still run? It's an expression. For me, you can run, you can lose yourself and find yourself at the same time. You can It gives you an opportunity to go through every facet of life, every difficult moment, every to celebrate all of the wins. But it's an expression of being able to live. When you run, it's it's hard, it's joyful, it goes through so many of the emotions, and it allows me to live in those emotions.
So let's say if somebody is listening to you right now, right, who has been through as you, like who has the eating disorder and who had just gone through the the process that went with the surviving the cancer and everything, or going through the therapy right now with the cancer, what would be that one message that you want to say to them?
I think it's difficult to say it to them. I think what I would do is say it to their support system. I would tell their support system to not to worry, because one day when that person going through cancer or going through eating disorders, when they have the ability to reflect and absorb what their support system is saying, then that work the support system is doing is will be all worth it. Because if someone's going through an eating disorder, and there's so many different reasons for going through it, or for cancer treatment, you don't always have the ability, or I didn't, to listen to what was being said to me. So someone could have told me it'll be okay, you're going to get through this. But if I'm not in the headspace, I'm not going to believe them. But upon reflection, I look back and I think how lucky I was, because I had such an amazing husband, such fabulous daughters that were able to be there for me, even though it was hard for me, even though I was probably not the best person to be around at all. And that makes it better. They kept going. They kept being there for me. So that's what I would say to the support system.
We talked about your daughter, right? She was the one who first believed that you could run. Now you are running marathons and you're telling yourself. So how does she feel right now?
Oh, she is probably my biggest cheerleader. That one's my eldest one, Kayla. She has also run 3 5Ks on her own, so that's fabulous. And my younger daughter Rebecca too. She comes out, and she's been coming this year and cheering for the marathons. I'm incredibly fortunate with the team I have. My husband will do anything possible to make each each opportunity happy and joyful for me. He will, ride his bike if my run is in the dark, and so that I'm not alone. He'll drive me to all of the marathons. We even celebrated our wedding anniversary last year at the New York City Marathon. That was his first one. But yeah, I'm very fortunate. So Kayla is the one that definitely gave me the spark to get going. But I'm very fortunate to have all three of them very supportive.
Even though you you haven't been running for a while, right? So you're pretty much new to it. What has been your favorite memory so far in terms of running?
I think my favorite memory was finishing 1 kilometer after 2 weeks. I was so proud of myself that I ran, it was like all the way to like a Circle K that's near me. I was so proud of that. And then my first marathon as well. That was last year. So my first marathon was incredibly proud. I couldn't believe I actually finished it. And those would be the most significant first accomplishments for me.
What was your reaction when you finished your marathon? Because now I understood, now I little bit understanding how you think, right? So when you finished your marathon, were you excited like, okay, I got this done, or you were immediately thinking about what next for me?
Well, ironically, when I did my first one, which was in 2024 Mississauga, I had a week later I did the Toronto Marathon as well. So when I finished the first one in Mississauga, I thought that was so much fun. I can't wait to do this again next weekend. that was my that was my reaction.
Oh God. Then how does your body respond to you going through all of these intense endurance sports now?
It responds very favorably, and I think that it comes to the fact that I had so many years of dance training and ballet training and then teaching. So in those areas, you don't get a rest day. Your body is constantly training. You have highs and lows throughout the day. They're long days. So I think my body is used to that sort of training. So for me, I'm very fortunate, knock on wood, that although I do have, certain, niggles in my knee, or I did have an IT band issue, really in the grand scope of things, for the volume that I do, I am very appreciative that my body is as resilient as it is.
Yeah, IT band can be fixed. Just the hips issues.
Exactly.
Just-
Yeah.
and also, it's very interesting because when you run these marathons, you obviously have to eat. You have to eat
Mhm.
gels, and since you have the history of ED, how does that impact you? Or has there been any gels that didn't feel right, or it's been a good way so far?
Oh no, it's been horrible. The gels, I can't stand them actually. I really can't stand them. I can't stand to It was so difficult to eat during movement because I hadn't had that experience before. Running was hard enough on my gut. Then you're telling me I need to eat food while I'm doing it. And with the history of digestive and eating disorder and all of the issues, that was so difficult. And that's one thing that Ryan is really trying to focus and trying to help me with as well. And we use the Fuelin app because I wasn't fueling the marathons. So when I ran the ones last year in 2024, I would maybe at most have like two gels, and I was tanking it. But then again, I wasn't going for time. I was really just running, and that was fun. Not that that's a reason to avoid fuel, but I was having such a hard time. So he is really on my case now to remind myself that fueling during the workouts is going to put the fire that that I need to keep going. So that is a different mentality. That's a completely different way of training, different from dance, like, different from ballet for sure. And so I'm trying. I'm every day I'm trying. But gels, oh, mm, no, there's none. I don't like any of them. I'm sorry. Hopefully you
But
find some that you like.
I do. After so long, I found the Sisgel that pretty much works for me. So now I use the Sis the jelly ones that goes in
Oh,
smoothly. Yeah, so it took me a while too because nothing worked for me too. So some didn't give me the energy right after I took it. Some tasted crap, but now I'm like settled on it. So that's the only one I use for all my training. So races I use whatever. If there is Moten, then I use it, whatever is there. But I usually
okay.
carry all my shell, like seven, eight of them, and I just use it. It
Wow.
pretty much works for me. So maybe if you haven't tried it, then you should try it.
Oh, I unfortunately I did try that one, but I've been trying honey zingers, like the twos.
Okay.
I've been trying those, and that is kind of okay. But again, I'm talking like a pack in a race, and I've been trying Halloween candy. And I say Halloween candy because like the small, like fun size, tiny ones, you
Hmm.
don't have to chew them as much. You just I know I'm supposed to have so many more, so I always pack a lot on me. I have a lot of fuel on me, but
Don't
just
use
getting
it.
it down, it's hard, and I'm doing it more in my training runs. And I message Ryan. I'm like, I was tanking. He said, fuel. You need to fuel.
Yes.
So I'm getting the reminder.
And what is next for you as you are going through and challenging yourself through so many ways? You are going out of your comfort zone. You from the person who couldn't run, you ran marathons, you did 80Ks, and now you are stepping your stone in the Ironman world.
I think, well, we have the High Rocks, and I have Chicago and the Toronto waterfront coming up in October. I'm toying with joining my team for a 70.3 or an Olympic distance event in September. I'm toying because I haven't committed yet. Maybe I'll do the long distance duathlon. We'll see. In terms of what's next, definitely going into the like to go into the 70.3 Ironman for next year. That's my plan, and then the full distance. And really, I don't I'm excited to see what else is going to happen, because even with High Rocks, this was not going to happen a year ago. I mean, that was not in the cards. That's something that has grown out of an incredible friendship with Christine, and a combined in really challenging ourselves and enjoying the sport. So you just never know what's going to happen with me. And we did the riot relays too, where we did the
Yeah.
overnight relay with a fabulous team. It was Christine, Alyssa, Colleen, Nicole, Katie. We did that as well. So you just never know. You never know. I like to be open to all possibilities.
Any trail run that's insane high distances?
I love the distance of the trail. I'm really someone that is not a fan of bugs. So my biggest hang up are would be as the bugs. Yeah.
It's
So I love the
yeah, I
distance. I
mean,
love the distance.
yeah, I mean that would happen at some point because if you're running in the trail, then you'll probably catch something. But
Yeah.
it is fun. It is fun. I can tell you by my experience. All right, I think those are the questions I had for you. But there is this rapid fire round, as you know, that it goes. So I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of random questions, and you can just give me whatever pops in your head.
Okay.
Road or trail runs?
Road.
Long run or speed work?
Oh, that one's a hard one because I think I would have said long run before I started working with Ryan, and he's making me do
Right.
strides, and maybe I shouldn't tell him I'm enjoying it. So I'll still go long run though, just so he doesn't get any good ideas.
Oh God. Music, podcast, or silence when you run?
Silence.
Favorite post-run meal?
A protein shake. I do like blueberries, vegan protein powder, and espresso powder.
Hardest day you have ever had?
In my entire life, you mean? Or
Mhm.
in my entire life, it would be the night I went to sleep and didn't think I'd wake up. That's the hardest day I've ever had.
Best day you ever had?
Oh, I I have too many. I mean, I have a fabulous husband and two fabulous kids and a gorgeous dog. I have every day I find something to make it the best day.
One word people use to describe you.
Unique comes in my mind. I get that. I'm going to say unique.
I would describe you as a fighter.
Thank you.
One word you wish they used.
Oh, wow. What? That's so difficult. One word I wish they used to describe me.
Hmm.
I'm going to say a strange thing. I'm going to say inevitable because I think
Oh,
anything that I put my mind to is inevitable.
Thanos. What's career for you? Starting or stopping?
Stopping.
All right. I think this is the last question I ask everybody onto the show. As you know, I would like you to finish this sentence. Running has changed my life because
It's given me a way to express feelings, enjoy time, and live in the moment.
awesome. That's beautiful. And thank you so much for your time. I think this was your story has really touched me because what you went through in your life, it's not fun. From not being able to eat anything, and then now you are here, and this transformation is like amazing and it's inspiring because you should be an example of what you can do because you went from this belief that you cannot do anything to do, and now you are doing these incredible things on your own. You are kicking ass, doing marathons, 80Ks, high rocks, and even now toeing your toes with the Ironman. That's insane. So thank you so much for your time, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much, Ash. I think we all inspire each other, and I think that's what makes it so beautiful. So we can do that.
Yep, indeed. And I'll be following you, so I know if you started on the Ironman journey or not. But if you do, then good luck with that, and I wish you success because I want to see how far you can go to now. So, and let's not draw the line and just keep moving
Exactly.
forward. Yep.
Exactly. Thanks so
All
much.
right. Yeah. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time after you do your Ironman when that is.
Okay, it's a deal.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks so much. You as well, Ash. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.